Hello, I'm Jeremy Vine, and this is Panorama. These young men have all carried a knife.
As soon as you carry a knife, just know you've got a potential jail sentence or you're gonna die.
These young men have all used a knife.
I had a knife, I lashed out with a knife and stabbed him.
And these have killed with one.
Done a lot of per se bad things in my life, but murder or being responsible for someone's death was never, ever a part of my plan.
Last year, at least 34 teenagers were stabbed to death in the UK. The latest annual figures show more than 4,500 under-21s were sentenced for carrying a weapon. So perhaps now, more than ever, the government needs to be listening to those young people caught in the middle of knife crime, whether they're bystanders, victims or perpetrators. Our reporter Raphael Rowe was given rare access in their prison cells to 5 young men convicted of knife crimes.
The guys tried it with me, I pulled out my shank and I shanked him.
23 young people have been killed with a knife in the last 12 months in London alone.
You just realise that you've taken someone else's life away.
The most recent annual figures show that more than 9,000 people were cautioned or sentenced for carrying a knife.
Led to a Saturday night out, from which 2 young local men never returned home.
One buried her son in May last year. The other must bury her son this month.
1 minute I was going to have a drink with a girl. 60 seconds later, there's a man dead. It's everything. The whole world's changed.
I just wanted to be a pop star, like make music, do my little thing.
And what are you?
I'm a prisoner.
Over a decade, the number of young people sentenced each year for carrying a knife rose from 114 to more than 1,200. That's an increase of more than 1,000%. They're only a tiny proportion of young offenders behind bars. But I wanted to show teenagers, parents and victims where children who carry or use knives may end up. I also wanted to learn more about the motivations of those who have used a knife. I was given access to a group of prisoners at 2 young offender institutions by the Ministry of Justice. The young men were identified to us by the prison service as knife offenders. Aaron Aymer was described by a judge as one of the most dangerous young men he'd come across.
I realised there was no way I could get through my life without violence or being hurt or maybe having to hurt people.
In July 2007, Aaron Aymer stabbed and killed 22-year-old David Stunnell. Aymer was just 17 at the time, but had a history of violence with knives. They'd been a part of his childhood.
When I was about maybe 13, 14, school days, when I was in school, now and then I would carry a knife to school, a sort of little pen knife.
Why did you carry a knife at such a young age and to school? I mean, you're going to school to get educated, not...
Obviously now, at the time I didn't realise, but now I realise I was just young and stupid. That's the bottom line. Everyone's in competition. It's where you want to be in the sort of food chain sort of thing. And I didn't really want to be a victim.
Was there anybody in your group who sort of said, no, you shouldn't be carrying that knife, no, don't carry that knife, you're just going to end up hurting someone or getting hurt yourself? Was there never that kind of conversation going on amongst your group?
No, never, never. If anyone sees someone with a knife, if anything, they'll praise what they're doing because everyone else feels protected. I think at the time, it felt good to have friends with knives around you.
They know a knife is a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, but that's the reason Knowing that fact, what you just said there, is the ultimate reason why they're carrying it, because they know that their enemies or other gangs coming in the area are carrying knives.
And it's breaking this cycle of one teenager picking up a knife, then others arming themselves against it, that poses the toughest challenge. I didn't speak to these young offenders on the basis of their race or where they came from. I spoke to them for their insight on why teenage boys, and at times girls, are carrying knives. In a suburban community, Billy was also living an increasingly violent life.
I think it's just a stupid thing where you go out and you go to a party or something like that, and then you have a few drinks, someone would say something, and it would turn into something else.
Fearful of the impact his interview would have on his victim's family and his own situation, he asked to be anonymous.
You see the people all the time, so whenever you see them again, it brings up old problems and stuff like that, so it's just over stupid stuff, really. It wasn't ever anything serious.
But Billy didn't just pick up a knife, he was given it.
I got the knife from my brother.
Why would your brother give you a knife?
He knew that I was having fights and stuff like that sometimes, and thought I'd obviously need it for protection because other people that I was getting involved with were carrying knives as well. So he thought it'd be better to be safe than sorry.
What did you think he was trying to do?
I think he's trying to look out for me, basically. At the time, I thought, yeah, it makes sense.
Why did you carry the knife that night?
I carried it because I was leaving my area. I was going from my area to another area.
It was the so-called postcode rivalry between teenagers who think they have to defend their area from other teenagers that led Ashley Goodridge to arm himself.
I'm not from North London, I'm from East London. So me going to North London, and they're thinking, they were like, oh, we don't know you around there, where are you from?
When did you first start carrying a knife?
Around the age of, I'd say, 16. A lot of things start happening towards peers of mine, and you never know when you're going to be next, so...
What sort of things were happening?
Stabbings, assaults, to a lot of friends of mine around that age. I lost one of my friends when he was 16 as well, when we was both 16.
What happened?
He was stabbed.
And died?
Yeah, and died.
And knowing that, you still started to carry a knife?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you've just lost a friend, he's been stabbed, he's died. Why would you carry a knife after that?
Because I was thinking it could have happened to me. It could have happened to me. So if it did, I'd be able to warn them off and scare them off.
Ashley Goodridge may have thought the knife he carried would scare others, but in 2005, aged 17, he killed a young man during a fight in the street. He was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to a minimum of 8 years. Like Ashley, Billy and his brother had been seeking protection in a knife. But just like Ashley, Billy ended up killing another young man. He's now serving a life sentence for murder.
The person that you stabbed didn't use a knife on you on that day?
No.
Did they have a knife?
No, it didn't.
All these young offenders said they were carrying a knife to protect themselves, yet none were being threatened with a knife when they attacked. What they told me was a means of protection was actually used as an offensive weapon.
I caught the guy in the neck, and that could have been an attempted murder. That could have been an extra 10 years onto what I've got. And I feel like God or somebody's gave me another chance to change my life.
Aaron Dennis received a sentence with a minimum of nearly 4 years for slashing and stabbing his victim. He was part of a gang of thieves who held terrified tube passengers up at knife point as they robbed whatever they could.
I was robbing passengers on the train for their valuables, such things like watches and chains. Another person jumped in, see me with the group, and rightly so assumed that I was taking part in the robbery. He grabbed me and that. I was being selfish, basically. I stabbed the guy because I wanted to get away and not get nicked.
He was 18 when the high-profile robberies on the underground were committed, but he'd been carrying knives long before that, from the age of 14.
Where did you first get a knife from?
Pound shops, some little stores in West and that, where they sell antiques and that, and they got knives, or they sell phones, or they sell all sorts of stuff. You'd probably pick one up for about £1.
What kind of knives?
Like flick knives. That's what I'd carry. I don't really know about any other knives, but that's what I'd carry, something little small and that, so it's convenient to put in your pocket or in your bag.
It's like a black lock knife. You pull it out and it locks in place.
It was a butterfly knife, so as you peel it down, the blade would be inside the middle of the case.
What knife?
It's a flick knife.
Kellum Sylvester was an angry and aggressive teenager, the result, he says, of the bullying he received for his shortened leg. He's serving a minimum of nearly 3 years for grievous bodily harm.
The guys tried it with me. I pulled out my shank and I shanked him.
Shank being a knife?
Yeah. And I shanked him with the shank and then...
What was going through your head at that moment, Callum? Because it takes, like I say, a certain type of person, whatever temper you have, to pull a knife out and use it on somebody else.
I don't even know what was going through my mind. Like, just thinking, this guy must think I'm an idiot. Trying to say, he's going to say that he's going to rob my chain. So if you're going to do it, do it. Don't say that you're going to do it and don't do it. You understand me? And he's tried to swing for me. I swung for him. Got into a little scuffle. Pulled out my shank and I shanked him. And then I didn't even think nothing about it. I just walked onto the bus, like, and just went home.
Did you not worry about the damage you'd caused?
Didn't even think about it, to be honest.
Did you care?
Not at the time. Now, I'm a reformed man. I do think about it and I think, well, I could have resolved that in a different way, you understand me? But at the time, I didn't really care. He was nothing to me. He was just another guy from around the corner.
Caught, arrested, Kellum found himself back on the streets of Nottingham, on bail. He picked up a knife and used it again.
Were you surprised to be let out on bail for such a serious offence?
Not really, no. Like, I've seen people on worse offences than that and come out of prison. So, not a prison, but, you know what I mean, on bail. So, thinking, oh, it couldn't be that bad to me, you understand where I'm coming from? Then the second time, I just tipped it over the edge and said, well, this guy is a bit too reckless for the road, so put him in prison.
Kellum's story is concerning. In his case, the legal system didn't seem to take his crime seriously enough until it was too late. And none of the offenders I spoke to had taken the threat of prosecution seriously either. Like many other teenagers, they feared the immediate threat of violence and loss of face among their friends more than the distant threat of the law.
What about the threat of being arrested and going to prison for a long time?
I never thought about it, you know, that's being truthful. I never even thought about that. Like, everyone thinks, oh, yeah, I can do this, I'll get away with it, it's going to be nothing. But you don't realise you're going to get caught for it one day. Shit does catch up with you, like karma.
Did you know when you were young carrying a knife that it was illegal, it was wrong, you could be arrested and charged with an offence?
Yeah, I knew that. I knew. But I didn't really take it too serious because I have to prioritise things, and getting arrested or getting stabbed don't compare. Don't compare in the slightest. So
you would weigh up those consequences. It's either carry a knife, get caught by the police and maybe go to prison, or not carry a knife and become the victim of a knife incident or be attacked in some other way.
Yeah.
And you at that young age and others at that young age do make these connections?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely aware of the police. But like I said, take our lives more important.
At the time these young men committed their offences, kids under 18 were far more likely to get a caution than be prosecuted for carrying a knife. But in June 2008, tough new measures were introduced. Anyone over the age of 16 found carrying a knife in public should expect to be prosecuted. The maximum prison sentence had also gone up from 2 to 4 years. That maximum sentence, though, is only given in exceptional circumstances. But the young offenders told me it shouldn't be an exception, but the rule. Carry a knife, you should face jail and 4 years guaranteed.
See you later, Mum.
If you didn't carry the knife, then there's no chance of you being here for stabbing someone. If you just get rid of it and you eliminate the chance.
I've seen people come in and out of here 3 or 4 times since I've been in jail for a knife or GBH. They keep getting away with 18 months. So, to be honest, I agree with the people when I read the papers that sentences should be longer, or it should be a sentence where it's gonna get through to you, not just in and out of jail business.
It was 5 years for a gun, but now it's gonna be 5 years for a knife. And if they start doing that, people start getting 5 years. Think anyone's gonna want to carry a knife? You're gonna think about what you're gonna do before you do it. You understand where I'm coming from?
4 years for carrying the possession of a knife, yeah.
If you'd known that when you was outside, would you have carried a knife?
No. I'll be honest, I don't think so. Because I've almost done 4 years now. There's a big gap out of my life. Big gap.
I think if people start getting it, maybe then it would. People start getting 4 years, then it might.
What have you done?
And their message to teenagers, the reality of prison life is not worth picking up a knife for.
Look out the window. That's your vision. If you look out there, that's all you're seeing. It's a brick wall and the sky. You can't see the ground, you can't see a tree, you can't see anything, and won't for a very long time. Tell them what it's like, Aaron.
Everything, your whole life is dictated. Everything you do, the way you dress, the way I walk out, the way I talk.
Or you could just go out your bedroom door and see your parents and stuff like that. You can't do that here. You've got to book them in for a visit.
This is disgusting. Like, I have to eat my food 1 metre away from my toilet.
I miss my family.
Girlfriend?
I miss my girlfriend as well, yeah.
Sex?
I miss sex a lot, like, obviously, a man does miss sex, like.
My mum sending me money, I should be sending my mum money, you know what I'm saying? I'm 21, I'm still getting looked after.
When you ring your friends and you say, oh, yeah, I'm just going town to go buy some clothes. I can't buy no clothes, you understand where I'm coming from, wearing these prison clothes. And that stuff that over like 500 man of war, you understand where I'm coming from? I don't think anyone wants to be wearing the next man's brief.
When you're on a visit talking to your mum and they tell you you've got 5 minutes left, I'm talking to my mum, you're telling me I've got 5 minutes left. Like,
I know I'm going to be here till 2019, I think it is.
Missing your family there and your freedom, them two things alone, never mind the other little things, yeah. Just them two things there, just take away everything. You understand where I'm coming from?
What was it like when you first came in, realising I'm not going anywhere for a very long time? Did you cry?
When I got found guilty, I got sentenced. I was ready to do, like I said, I was ready to do my time for the actions that I've done, for the death that I've caused. But when I come down in the court cell that day, I weren't crying. I was headstrong about what was going to happen. I knew what I was going to do with my time in jail. I knew everything. I had it all planned. But when I see my mum and dad, my dad's... I've never seen my dad cry in my life, ever. I see him cry. Yeah, that just broke me down completely. I realised the situation I was in was not a joke. Everything just went in.
Victims' families speak of cold faces and a lack of remorse in court. For these young offenders, it wasn't until they were behind the closed doors of their cell that they faced up to the consequences of their actions and the number of lives they've devastated.
From that one moment, like just taking that knife, then just ruined everything else.
Ruined what?
My life, someone else's life, a whole family's life. You know what I mean? Everyone who ever knew me or the victim, they're always going to have that in the back of their minds, what's happened and stuff like that. So it's just devastating for everyone who knew him and everyone who knew me. Just from that one instance of just taking the knife.
His families, it's changed. They've lost a part of their family, like a son or a brother, or someone that was just there on a daily basis. He's gone, gone. That's an undescribable loss.
If you had the opportunity to say something to the family of the victim, what would you say?
To be honest, I could say I'm sorry, but sorry's not gonna bring their son back. What can I say? I can say sorry. I mean I'm sorry, like for the boy's parents and his family, because now they've got one less person at the Christmas table. But sorry's not gonna bring their son back, and I know personally they're not gonna want to hear that. I know that. There's nothing more I can say. I am sorry, but what? Who's gonna want to believe that?
The family of your victim have been quoted in the newspapers as sort of saying life should mean life. What do you think to that?
I'd say the same thing if I was in their position.
I suppose what they're saying is that your actions killed their son, their grandson, their brother, that you should be killed as an equal punishment.
Of course, I don't agree with that. For one, I didn't even mean to do it, but I understand in full where they're coming from. Yeah, I do understand.
All the young offenders expressed remorse for their crimes. Only they know whether they're really sorry for what they did or not.
Prison whispers to you, but the streets shout. So you answer to what you can hear calling. The streets say...
And for Ashley, the teenage killer who'd carried a knife for protection to go a few miles down the road, that vicious cycle may still not be broken.
What you thought was forever has merely come and passed. Now you're stuck in a cell, watching the hourglass.
Do you fear reprisals when you're released from prison or not?
I don't fear it, but it's a possibility.
Why?
Because I've took a life and I know one day it could be a possibility that someone takes mine.
It took these young men to attack and even kill before they learnt about the consequences of carrying a knife. It was only when they were already caught up in the criminal justice system that their behaviour was tackled. The cycle has to be broken earlier. The message has to get through at school and at home.
Did your parents know you carried a knife?
No.
From the age of 12, you carried a knife and your parents didn't know?
My mum thinks I've been sitting around my friend's house playing the computer. But really, I was out there doing some other stuff.
Why do you think you had that deceitful relationship with your mum then? Because you weren't telling her.
I didn't, not too much of that, yeah, like, I've got a good relationship with my mum, yeah, but I didn't want to disappoint my mum. You understand where I'm coming from? Don't want to say, Mum, I'm out here carrying knives, I'm in this gang stuff.
Did anybody else know that you carried a knife? Your friends, your family?
Yeah, my friends and stuff knew. My dad did know as well, yeah.
Your dad knew you carried a knife?
Yeah, he saw me once and stuff like that. I remember his words that he said to me. He said, "Oh, why are you carrying that and stuff?" And then he said, if you ever use that, you'll never be working in my house again.
Why didn't you put the knife down then?
So I just thought to myself, it doesn't matter, I'm never going to use it on anyone. I'm never going to cause injury to people. So I just carried on with it.
If your mum had known you'd carried a knife, what would she have done?
She would have mostly took it off me and confiscated it and said that she found the knife. And why am I carrying a knife for? and gave me a lot of grief over carrying it.
Would you have listened? Or just gone and picked up another knife? Truthfully?
Truthfully, I would have mostly picked up another knife.
Why?
Because then I felt the need to feel protected.
And what about the parent who may be aware that their teenage boy or girl has a knife?
Don't let them out the house until you got it. Don't let them out your sight until you got it off them.
Do you think that's realistic, though, given, you know, you were in that situation?
They've got to think to themselves, look, my son could go out and kill someone and could be taken away from me for the next 15 years. I could see him for like 2 hours once a month. So that's what they've got to do. They haven't got a choice, really. They've got to take it off them.
But it isn't just parents that need to take early action. Though it's no excuse for what they did, the young men I spoke to felt there'd been other missed opportunities before they were sent to prison.
I find this kind of funny but sad at the same time. I've come to jail and I've got more support and help from my family, from people outside that are trying to help me, trying to hear my side of the story, wanting to hear what I have to say. When I was on outside and I was in care home, no one ever helped me, innit? And I never had all these connections, things, none of them things helped me. But now, I've got qualifications, I've got courses.
Now I've come to prison, I can think, I can go to classes and I can stop fights and say, yo, you don't really want to be doing this because, you understand where I'm coming from? I can educate people and give people something that I never got from people.
At the moment, all the kids feel isolated. They've got themselves and each other. Parents, they don't know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. You have to relate to us or to the people. If you don't relate, then whether you're talking sense or not, I'm not gonna take it on board because I think you don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, but you don't know what you're talking about. My situation.
They say there are voices that can reach young people. For some it will be a parent or a teacher at school, but for others it's hearing a voice that speaks directly to them. A voice like Aaron, Kellum, Aaron, Billy and Ashley.
When I was young, no one really ever come and spoke to us about, like, from who's been in prison, who actually lived a rough life, come and spoke to us when we was in school about the effects of what can happen to you. It's only now that the situation's in need and people are urgently calling for some kind of help or some kind of justice or whatever, that they want the help. But the question is it too late or can it still be saved? Can the little youth of today still be saved?
Do you think they can?
I think they can.
Raphael Rowe reporting, and if you go online now you can see the results of a special Panorama survey into young people and knife crime. Some are surprising. 60% of those polled thought carrying a knife in public should get an automatic jail sentence. By the way, if you're a teacher or you run a youth group and you want to show our film, just get in touch with us and we can send you a copy.